Hello, everyone. Welcome to our weekly marketing webinar. I am Marta Nielsen. I'm a marketing assistant. I work out of the Salt Lake County office with Cynthia. You might have seen me on Facebook Live. That's kind of my main project right now. It's lots of fun. I would love to know who is tuned in here. If you want to pop into the chat box and just introduce yourself, say your name, where you're watching from, what you do with Extension. If you have any questions during the webinar, you can pop them in the Q&A box, not in the chat box. Okay, we've got Christy from JUAP. Hi, Christy. I do want to take some time at the end of the webinar to answer questions. Just any questions you have, put them in the Q&A if you want, but we'll also take some time at the end to cover questions specifically. So today I wanted to talk with you about how to get meaningful engagement on social media. Specifically today, we're going to focus on Instagram. I was able to participate in a virtual conference a couple weeks ago, all on video, and learned some really great strategies for engagement that I'm really excited to share with you. So let's just get started. I want to start with some questions to get you thinking a little bit. And maybe type this in the chat box. What types of content are you creating? And by that I mean, are you creating video? Are most of your social media posts a photo with a caption? Are you using stories? Are you doing giveaways? What kinds of things are you putting out there on social media? And if you answer these questions in the chat, it will kind of help me guide this conversation and share information that will be useful to you specifically. So pop that in the chat box. What types of content are you creating, and where are you primarily sharing that? So, we talk a lot about Facebook and Instagram, but there are so many more places that people share content. I know we've got Extension people sharing content on Pinterest. Some people use Twitter, all different kinds of places. So let me know what content you're creating and where you're sharing that. And my next question for you, this is kind of just a good thing to think about as a content creator for social media. What are the top 5 questions that you get in your job? And just write those down. You don't have to share those with me, but those are things you should be thinking about on your own as you are developing content. There are going to be questions that are really seasonal, or questions that you get every year at the same time, or every month, no matter what time of year. So think about those top 5 questions and maybe jot them down and keep those in mind as you're creating content, because if you're not answering like the most common questions that your audience has, then they might not find your content relevant to them. So we have some responses. Andrea, hi Andrea, thanks for joining us. She says she's sharing resources with teachers, lessons plans, video tutorials, books, and other resources, currently using Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, just started Instagram. Awesome. Christy said she's using mostly the photo and caption post, and doing some giveaways, and a weekly content calendar that she uses. That's a great idea, Christy, just to kind of get those juices flowing. Like, give yourself that content calendar to help you stay on top of it and not wake up in the morning and say, what am I going to post today? So does anyone remember hearing about the Facebook apocalypse? It was about a year ago. It was when kind of everything changed in the marketing world and the social media world, where the algorithm changed. And this is what Mark Zuckerberg said in his post. He said that he wanted to focus on helping people have more meaningful social interactions, more from friends and family, and less public content like posts from businesses, brands, media. That's us. So our content as of a year ago is not getting in front of people the way that it used to. So let's see, I have to have two screens here so I can have my notes, but there was something specific he said that I wanted to share with you. He wanted to help people stay connected, bringing us closer together with the people that matter to us. He didn't say anything about connecting Extension with its followers or businesses with their followers. And over the last year, it's been almost a year and a half, it's increasingly difficult for us to get as many eyes on our content. Have any of you noticed that? Not as many likes, not as many 3-second views on videos, things like that. It's just harder because the algorithm does not prioritize our kinds of content because we are a business page on social media. So how do we adjust our content and adjust what we're putting out there on social media so that we can have more meaningful social interactions with the people that follow us, so that we can beat that algorithm and get our content out there? And also, I'm going to talk about why those interactions and those meaningful interactions specifically are important for us and something we should be striving for. Okay. If you guys could only see behind the scenes, I've got like 2 computers going here. What do meaningful connections look like? Meaningful connections are conversations. If it's a comment, it's not just an emoji. It's not just one word. It's not just someone tagging someone else. It's like a couple lines of a comment. It's where the poster is responding to comments and engaging someone. You know, they comment and you respond. It might be sharing your content and then adding their own description, like, this really stood out to me because of this, or I love this, or this made me laugh today, whatever that might be. Direct messages, that is a meaningful connection. If you're posting content every day and you're not doing anything in direct message, you might want to rethink your strategy. And if your posts aren't getting any engagement, it's time to rethink your strategy. So if you're not getting any likes, if you're not getting any direct messages, time to rethink what you're doing. So do you guys like this GIF I made? It turns out it's harder to make GIFs than I thought it would be, but I tried. This is a picture from a Facebook Live that I did with Carson Anderson and Sheridan Hanson from Davis County. And it was just fun. It was just fun. We went and toured Sheridan's chicken coop. They had these goofy glasses. I'm only going to touch on Facebook a little bit today because I think that's where we spend a majority of our time and attention. But I think increasingly the audience is moving away from Facebook. People are moving away from Facebook. I'm not saying we should stop using Facebook, but I think I'm going to teach you some things about Instagram that I think will really help you increase engagement, and we're not going to focus as much on Facebook. But I did want to share some ideas for you to increase your engagement on Facebook. Live video. You guys, I feel like I've talked about live video until I'm blue in the face, and you're probably sick of hearing about it. But it's a great way to get engagement where you can be a little bit silly and wear chicken glasses and just be more real and connect with people a little bit deeper. And you can make mistakes and laugh about it, and people like to see that. It's not as highly produced. Some other things to think about on Facebook: video with captions. A majority of video views on Facebook are done with the sound off. People scrolling through their feed, they see the video and they stop, but they don't necessarily hit play. They watch it with the sound off. So if it's a talking head video, they're not getting any added value from that because they don't hear what you're saying. So if you are putting video on Facebook, make sure you are adding captions. And there are a few options for that. There are some apps that you can record your video in the app and it will live add captions. It'll add captions as you're recording and talking. And I'm trying to remember I can't remember the name of that one off the top of my head, but I'll make sure and get you that information. Another really easy option, especially if you're pulling a video from YouTube and putting it on Facebook or whatever, or if you already have video content, there are other things you can do. One is if you're editing it, you can add them in manually. That's a little bit labor intensive. If it's a short video, it doesn't take terribly long. Or Facebook has a captioning option now. So I think you go in, you can upload the video. For me, I do it with live videos occasionally. So after we are done recording live, I will open it up, click edit, and there's an option within that edit menu where you can add captions, and it doesn't do the best job capturing what you're saying. It gets every and but you can go in and edit that type. That takes a while. It takes a while to go through that, especially if it's a longer video, but it's very, very useful for those watching with sound off. Okay, I spent too long on that. Facebook groups. Facebook groups are huge right now, and Facebook is really trying to push people into more groups because they see that as a place where meaningful connections and interactions are happening, because you're connecting with people who have similar interests as you. So we have actually started a group as Facebook marketing, or as extension marketing, excuse me, Utah's gardening experts. We invited our horticulture agents, we invited master gardeners on there. We promoted it in a few different places and had a really great response. People are going there, they're asking questions, they're getting answers. We're promoting research-based information, and it's been a lot of fun. There's also a master food preserver group that I'd love to see more happen with. And I just want to put this plug out there. A lot of people are scared to start a group because they can get really big and it can seem really overwhelming to manage that much. But look at it this way. If you are the group administrator, it is not a dictatorship, it's a community. So you want to set clear rules and boundaries and then empower the people in your group to self-regulate in some ways. I mean, occasionally you do have problems come up and you have to, delete posts or kick people out of the group. That happens. But I feel like it's been very manageable from this point, and we've had great involvement, like I said, from master gardeners. So it's been a really good thing. If you are interested in Facebook groups and you want to talk more about it, I'd love to talk with you more about that. Giveaways. I was talking with Tasha Killian. She's an FCS faculty. Tasha, if you're on here and I'm butchering your position, I apologize. But she's in Nephi. And she told me that they have been doing some giveaways on Facebook and had really great response. And it's not like they're buying new stuff to give away. She said that they had like some county fair hats or old t-shirts or just things from their office that they were able to post on Facebook and give away, and they've had a really great response. And it's just kind of a fun way to get people engaged, and get them to tag people and share it and kind of get your name out there. So I loved that idea. I think that's a really great idea. I know that a few other extension people have done giveaways with really great success. Dr. Dave has done some. I know we've done some to collect survey responses for a few different projects, and it's been a successful way to do that through social media. And then memes. I mean, think about the content that you are putting out there right now and what is succeeding. Do more of that. And think about the things that make you want to engage and do more of that. What's going to make you comment? Chances are your audience is a lot like you. So that's a great way to do it. People like to share funny stuff and comment and engage. And so I love that one. Now let's jump into Instagram. We don't want to be spending most of our time and energy on social media in Facebook and then all of a sudden look around and say, hey, where did everyone go? You want to follow your audience and spend your time and energy where it's going to make the most impact. And I think more and more people are moving to Instagram and consuming content and engaging on Instagram more. I think most branches of extension are underutilizing Instagram. So I'm going to go over 3 engagement strategies in Instagram: captions on your posts, Instagram stories, and IGTV, which is Instagram TV. Make sure I have my notes here. Let's see. And I'm going to suggest a training for you that I highly it's not really a training. It's just a little video to watch that I highly recommend. It's from this lady, Chalene Johnson. She just put out a fall growth guide, and it's all about Instagram. And she put this out. She's promoting a paid course that she talks more about in part 2. I would not bother with part 2, but this part 1 is really awesome. And Aubrey's going to pop that link into the chat box so you can bookmark that for later. It's not very long, and she has some great ideas. I'll go over some of them because she presented at that conference I mentioned, and just had really great ideas to increase your engagement on Instagram. Instagram post captions. It's likely that if you're using Instagram right now, what you're doing is posting content to your feed. So a photo with a caption, maybe some hashtags. That's good. We want to keep doing that. That's where you'll potentially reach new audience, especially through using hashtags. You don't want them to be unnecessarily long. Like if you can say it in one line, say it in one line. But if you have a story to tell, I'm seeing more and more people doing almost micro blogs within their Instagram post captions. And it's really interesting. They'll have kind of a catchy, a photo that maybe grabs attention. You're like, oh, I want to know what that's about. And then it's this long caption that's a story or sharing information. A lot of times it's like a personal experience. And those long thought out stories can really speak to your audience. If it doesn't fit in the caption space, I'm not sure how many characters you're allowed to use. You can always at the bottom say story continued in comments and then put the remainder in the first comment. You could type this up, on your computer, email it to yourself, open it on your phone and copy and paste it. That's probably a good idea because it's really easy to have typos when you're typing on your phone. So don't make them unnecessarily long, but if you have a story to tell, try it out and see what happens, especially, like I said, those personal stories that are going to speak to people and, they might say, hey, that happened to me and here was my experience or whatever that might be. Now let's talk about stories. I'm really curious. I don't know, can you guys raise hands in this or maybe just comment yes or no? Are any of you using stories for extension? Yes or no? Give you a second to answer. There are 7 of you on here, though one of those might be me. Maybe there's only like 5. But I'm curious how many of you are using. Okay, Andrea said barely. That's awesome. It's a good place to start. I'm curious now if you're using them personally. Christy said very little. So stories are stories. Think of it as a story. There might be a beginning, middle, or end. Andrea said not personally. So we're just, we're finishing up fair season. So say it's a fair day and you're going to be at the fairgrounds setting up. Maybe, like you could do a few little stories throughout the day and you don't have to do them all clumped together. It might be like first when you get there and nothing is set up, like, hey, we're so excited, we're just getting set up. Then in the middle of the day, show something else. And at the end, we're wrapping up, we're going home. There's your beginning, middle, and end. And every time you update that story, your little icon is jumping to the beginning of the lineup of stories on your followers' feed. And you're getting a priority spot that they'll see versus when you post content, there's an algorithm involved and it might bury you way, at the end of everyone else's posts. Stories are a great way to get your content in front of eyes of people who already follow you. It's a place where you can go deep, get personal, which I think a lot of extension people are scared to do. That's scary. It's scary because we have our work identity and then we have our personal life, and we keep those things kind of siloed and separate. But, you know, I just think of, I think it was a year ago, maybe a year and a half, when I was doing Facebook content for extension for a while, and it was Pi Day. I think it was Pi Day, and I shared a video from Gaylin showing how to make pie crust. It was a YouTube video, and she talked about, you know, it was her mother's recipe and how she taught her how to do it. And I had so many comments of people saying, Gaylin makes the best pie and we love her. Like, extensions people make extension what it is. So don't be afraid to get a little personal and share a little bit of who you are. And stories is a great place to do that. Okay, I need to stay on topic here. Stickers. Okay, those of you, Christy and Andrea, are you using stickers? I'm going to show you specifically how to use some of these stickers, but they are awesome, and they are ways to prompt engagement. It's a way, like, people just can't help themselves. You know, like, which do you like better? Hard shell taco, soft shell taco? Do a poll. People can't help but answer that question. Or it might be a question, like ask me anything, the question sticker. Or in that, you know, so the poll you use for yes or no, or this or that. And then the question is open-ended. They can ask short form questions. The slider bar, you can do the heart eyes, like, how much do you love this? Or, you know, you can choose different emojis so they can express emotions and like rate or rank your picture. That's a fun one people like. And there's also a quiz, which I think could be really interesting with extension, you know, kind of gauging people's knowledge. And, you know, it tells them if they're right or wrong. And then you can share your results from those stickers. It gives you another story. And people like to see follow-up. Like, you know, I answered the question at 8 a.m. today, but by the end of the day, the results might be different of percentage who likes hard shell and who likes soft shell tacos. Can you tell I love tacos? So those are a great tool. GIFs also just add a little more personality, make it more fun. They're searchable. You can usually find one that will apply to your content. And it's a great way to do that. Most people check stories first, which I think is super interesting. Before they scroll through their feed, they're checking stories. I'd highly, highly encourage you to utilize stories more. Make sure I covered everything. If you need inspiration of what to share, look at if you follow a brand that's killing it in stories, look at what they're posting and try and get some inspiration from that. Let's see, anything else? Share posts. Okay, so if you have a new post and you're wanting to get more traffic to it, you can share that post. On your post, there will be a little paper airplane icon, and you click that, you can say share to stories. Now, disclaimer, I've got at least 6 different Instagram accounts on my phone, like 3 different extension ones, a couple personal ones, and my USU Botanical Center account will not let me to share a post to a story, which is super frustrating. And I think it's because they just release things in phases, and for some reason that account has not had that capability yet. Test it out, see if you have that capability. It's also a great place to share other people's content. If I had that functionality, I would be sharing Sheridan Hanson's posts all the time, because she does daily, really fun gardening related posts on Instagram. Tag other people. Make sure you're using those tag stickers in stories. You can tag other people. You can do a location tag. All kinds of fun things there. And if you tag someone, then they'll see your story. Maybe they'll share it to their stories, and then you're exposed to more audience. And just be yourself, be authentic. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to use filters. Just be yourself. So now I'm going to show you, if you haven't used stories much, show you some things that you can do. So there are 2 ways you can add to your story. If you don't have any live stories, you'll want to click on, well, you don't have to. You can click on the little circular image, the second arrow down that says your story, the little plus sign. You can add to your story that way. Or at any time you can tap that little camera to add a new story. This is the clock in my house. Just, you can probably hear it ticking in the background. You can take a picture from that point and you'll see the bottom menu. You can swipe through and choose a few different fun features. You can make a boomerang. You could do live video from here. There's one called Focus that's really fun. It gives you like a depth of field, so your background is blurred, but you're in focus. That's a fun one. Take some selfies that way. I highly recommend it. Or you can choose an existing photo that you've taken, that's where the arrow is pointing. That's your photo gallery. You can then pick your photo or your video. I'm going to show you some fun things you can do here. Now, if you've just taken the photo in Instagram, you do have the option to download the photo you just took, which I would recommend, especially if you want to be able to use it at a different time or in a different place. So that's the little arrow with the line under it on the top of the screen. The smiley face is a face filter. The link you can, unless you have a bajillion followers, you can't link to an external website. But you can, anyone can use that link to link their story to an IGTV, which we're going to talk about next. And that's a cool feature to use. The little square smiley face is your sticker icon. Then the highlighter you can use to draw on your photo and, of course, add text. This is what the sticker menu looks like. And Andrea and Christy, I know you said you do use stories, so I hope this isn't too elementary for you. We are recording this so that anyone can go and watch it later. But here's where you can add those stickers. In the top, you could search peach, like if you want a little dancing peach in your story. And there you can see your location mention hashtag. You can add a poll, a question, the slider bar, quiz, chat. The chat is kind of cool if you wanted to start a conversation with a group of people interested in one specific thing. You could do that and say, who wants to talk about parenting? And I think it'll let you add like 30 people can join that chat and you can have a conversation. It's kind of like starting your own little group, but it's an Instagram chat. I have not used that one, but it's pretty cool. And the countdown is fun too. That one would be fun for a county fair, countdown to the fair. Okay, I'm going to teach you some cool things to do with this drawing tool. So along the top, you see 4 options. The far left is the marker, and then there's highlighter. The one with the dots above it that looks like a magic wand makes like a neon, like it glows a little bit, and the eraser. So if you tap on the highlighter, select your color, and then touch and hold on your screen, it creates this little overlay. Isn't that cool? If you do it with the marker, so select the marker, select the color that you want, tap on the screen and hold, it will be opaque. And then that can create a background for you to like type text, which is kind of a cool function because you can customize the color of the background. You can use the little color picker on the bottom left to select a color from your picture if you want. Another thing you can do is if you touch on the color and hold, it opens up like I'm trying to think how to describe it, a color screen where you can like customize the color. You can't put in a color code or anything that specific, but it's kind of cool to be able to customize the colors that way. I would suggest that you pick a color palette and kind of stick to it. Like on my personal, I always use on the next, if you swipe through, you can see on the bottom, there are 3 color screens. I like to use the light pink and the medium pink for my personal, because it's just a happy color. So that's a fun function that I just learned. Now, if you select the eraser tool, you can erase that overlay that you just put on. So like, if you wanted to focus on like a certain feature on your website and you took a screenshot of your website, uploaded it to stories, put an overlay, and you could use the eraser to outline that one specific thing that you want to focus on, and then it draws everyone's eye to that. It's just kind of fun. Then let's see, next. Once your story is posted, so let's see if we can go back. No, so then you would click done. Your next page, this is when it's already posted. I think you click like share to your story and then it's posted. I forgot to add that step in there. After it's posted, you can highlight it. Highlights are really cool. We think that our stories are gonna go away after 24 hours, and they do, but if you create a highlight, then you can refer people back to that highlight. Like, hey, so-and-so asked this question. We covered that in stories a while ago. You can check it out in our highlights under FAQs or whatever. It's just kind of a cool thing. So you can create a highlight. And what I like to do when I'm creating a highlight, I create an image in Canva, which I have a Canva app on my phone, which makes it super easy. It's not as intuitive as the desktop version, but it works. Then you add that image from Canva into your stories. Then you open your story and tap on that highlight. Let's see if I've got that step. Yeah, I do. Okay. So here's one that I made for a trip I took to New York. This is from my personal page. This is in Canva. I created this image. I did it square because your highlight will crop it to a circle, and I wanted the text to be centered. So I just saved that from Canva. So once you've added it, to create a highlight, you tap, we'll go back, see that little heart, you tap that. And if you don't have any highlights, you'd need to create a new highlight. If you're just adding to an existing, you'd tap on the one that's already existing. And then it's there. Now, I mentioned stories going away after 24 hours. They do, but all your stories are saved in an archive, which I also recently learned, and it's super cool. So you go to your profile if you wanted to create highlights now and go back to your previous stories and add a few stories to your highlight. Go to your profile, click on those 3 lines at the top, go to your archive, and look at that. All these stories from August that we could highlight. We could do a honey highlight, or tips from Sheridan highlight, things like that. It's kind of cool. I will mention the first photo that you add to your highlight will become the cover photo for that highlight, which is why I recommended using the Canva image. So add that, highlight it first, then you can go to your archive and add more highlights or current stories and highlight them. I hope that makes sense. Be thinking of your questions. Andrea, I see your question. Do you highlight everything or just select stories? I would not highlight everything. I would be strategic about it. Think about what kind of things you want to highlight. And then, you know, create those cover photos for your highlights. And you could set up the cover photos, 5 cover photos in one day and not have any highlights yet. But then as you're creating stories, think about those and add to those highlights. Okay, Instagram TV. This is so fun, you guys. I have just recently started using Instagram TV for extension, and it's so fun. It's kind of a new thing. They're kind of trying to compete with YouTube. They're shorter form videos, so it has to be at least 1 minute. Keep it between 1 and 7 minutes. Because it's a new option on the platform, they are prioritizing it. So that's another way to kind of beat the algorithm. Same with Facebook Live. Because they're trying to promote people using this part of the platform, they're pushing it out to more people. So the Instagram TV stuff that I've done so far, when I've done a live video with Sheridan, I just have her record a little tip that takes a few minutes. And then I edit it and add that to Instagram TV. If you have a super successful story, you can make that in Instagram TV. I showed you that you could download your stories. So you could download, 5 stories and edit them into one video. The cool thing is when you add a video to Instagram TV, it posts it to your feed as like a post in the feed. You can also share it to your stories and add it to Facebook. So you have that video on Facebook as well. So it's pretty cool. And I'm going to kind of walk through the process of how to create an Instagram TV video. First thing you want to do is prep your content. Be strategic. Think about what the purpose is. Think about your topic and your title. You want your title to be catchy, something that conveys what your video is about clearly. Create bullet points. You don't want to script it exactly because that will not come off as natural and not as personal. Plan your first sentence because that's the first thing people are going to hear, and you want them to want to watch the rest of your video, not scroll to the next thing. The battery on my other computer's dying. And plan your call to action. That will be at the end as well. Let's see. So I'm trying to interpret my notes there. I think I covered that on prepping your content. One thing that might happen as you're filming, you might realize that your attention grabbing sentence happens in the middle, and you can always, you know, with magic of editing, pull that and put it at the beginning, or record a separate intro with that sentence and then edit them together. And I say edit, I'm going to share some editing tips with you. I am not a videographer, but I've been able to find some ways to make it pretty easy and doable. If I can do it, you guys can do it too. When you're recording, don't just repurpose YouTube content. It's too long. It's not for the right audience. Instagram TV is vertical video. You can do it horizontal, but it's vertical video. It's selfie mode. This is me talking to you, personal. It's not the same as YouTube. You can record it on your phone. Super simple. Oh, this is kind of some repeated information. Sorry about that. And there's that captioning app that I couldn't remember before, Cliptomatic. It costs $5. Like I said, as you record, you have to record in Cliptomatic. It adds captions as you're recording, but you can also add them in later. Edit video. So I've been using Videorama, and you can add in text. And sometimes when I'm doing it, I don't even add word for word. I'll just kind of put the main idea of that 10 seconds. So if someone's watching without sound, they know, they kind of get the idea, or maybe it catches their attention and then they turn the sound on. Videorama is awesome. There's a free version. I did end up paying for the paid version. I think it was like $15, but it's very simple to use, very intuitive. If you get it and you find it too difficult, you can always watch a YouTube video on it. That's what I do, and they're really helpful. A lot of people also, oh shoot, now I can't remember the name. There's another video editing software that you can buy through, like through the university that is easy to, is it Camtasia? Camtasia. If you already have Camtasia, that's a really good one as well. Make sure that in your call to action, you're like putting it as a graphic, like add in that text, like go to my website today, or find the fact sheet here, or whatever that is graphically. And then make sure you review it before you post. Okay, just like with YouTube, with Instagram TV, you want to create a thumbnail, or else it's just going to take a screen grab from your video and you might be making a weird face and it's just not ideal. The other reason you want to do this is the post, when it shows up in your feed, the thumbnail, when you're looking at your grid of your feed, the thumbnail is what shows up as that picture. So I would highly recommend creating your thumbnail. I use Canva. Use the stories template, because then that'll give you the vertical right dimensions, but it's going to crop it down for your profile from that vertical stories to square. So make sure, I would put the title of your video. Let's see, am I skipping ahead too much? Make sure when you're creating that, the title of your video is sort of toward the center of the thumbnail. And maybe you want to think about, if this is something you want to do regularly, think about like consistency. My computer just died. I got distracted. So that, you're using the same font, or, so that, just so that when it's in the grid, it looks consistent. Yeah. Okay. So here's how you add an Instagram TV. It's not as easy to find as some of the other functions on Instagram. It's this little icon at the top of your screen that's a little TV with the record dot. And you click on that, and it'll open up Instagram TV, and it'll just start playing video. I think it plays with no sound at first. To add your own video, you add that little plus button. You tap the plus icon, and then you select your video. So this video has already been edited. It's ready to go. Once you've selected your video, here's where you add your thumbnail. So you can see the little white rectangle near the bottom that's around Sheridan. You can slide through and select your thumbnail that way if you don't want to set up your own thumbnail, but I would recommend setting up your own thumbnail. So that's where you'll add from the camera roll, tap on the image you created in Canva, and then you've set your thumbnail. Your next menu is where you type in the title, the description, and set some of the settings for posting. So if you've got your title on your thumbnail, you can do something a little different in the top line where it wants you to input a title. Maybe you're asking a question that's provoking someone to think or to want to know the answer and watch the video. So for example, this one, how do you know? Oh, and there's a typo. I didn't actually post this. This I just was setting up as a test. Good thing, because that has a weird typo. How do you know when your watermelon is ready to be picked? So you type that in there. And then you can add your description. You can do hashtags in your title and or description. Select no more than 3 and make sure they're really relevant to the topic of your video. This option under here that says post a preview, that is how you make the video, the IGTV video, show up in your feed. If you don't select that, it will not show up in your feed. And that's where you're gonna get most of your views. I think it shows 1 minute and then it stops and it says continue watching on Instagram TV. And a lot of people will click through and they wanna watch the rest of the video. And if you select make visible on Facebook, you do have to then make sure that your Facebook page is connected with that Instagram account, and it will upload that video to Facebook as well. They just make it so easy for us. So here's some tips for success. And this is where the engagement part comes in. Because you might think, okay, well, that's cool. We're learning something new about using Instagram, but how does this actually promote engagement for us on Instagram? Like I said, this is a place where you can go deep and get personal. It's like with stories, but because it's that new functionality, it'll get pushed out to more people. It's a great way to engage. When people comment, and this goes not just for IGTV, but for anything. When people comment and they engage with you, be sure that you are engaging back early. So respond quickly to comments, because it doesn't leave a very good impression if someone commented on your video and then they get a response from you 2 weeks later. That doesn't feel like, you want it to feel like you're almost like you're their friend. Like it's that thing where you don't really know each other in real life, but they feel like they know you because they see your face, they talk with you, they trust you. If you're trying to figure out content for Instagram TV, don't guess, ask your audience. That's something you can do in stories. Use one of those question stickers to ask them what they want to know. And then you can use that, to create Instagram TV video content. You can promote your Instagram TV in stories. So, you might hop on stories, selfie mode video, and say, hey guys, I just uploaded a video to Instagram TV that I'm super excited about. I answered this question, da, 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 da. Head over and check it out. Then you can, remember I showed you that little link in Instagram stories, link it to the IGTV video. You can also go to the IGTV video, that's a mouthful, and again, use the little paper airplane icon, share it to your stories, and that'll just show the thumbnail with the title in your stories. You can add stickers, you could add text, whatever you want to encourage people to go check it out. So this is really the point of it all. To get meaningful engagement on social media, you have to lean in. You have to respond to people who are engaging with you, and be quick to respond, answer their questions, have a conversation, just be willing to have those conversations on social media. Instead of thinking of it as something you're checking off your list for the day, oh, I made my post on Instagram, I made my post on Facebook. Think of it as a community and ways you can lean in and talk with people and have conversations. I'm going to share an example with you. This is a story that I posted to the USU Botanical Center Instagram page, Instagram stories. I just asked, I used the little overlay thing that I showed you. I said, are you part of our gardening Facebook group that I told you about, Utah's Gardening Experts? Yes or no? And I know that's a little deceiving. You can, if you open your story and swipe up on it, you can see statistics like who viewed your stories, how many people answered the question, who answered yes and no. I think there were like 11 people that answered no and 1 or 2 that answered yes on this, but you know, it's not nothing. So everyone that answered no, this is what I did. I hopped into direct messages and I sent him a message. I said, Ellen, you need to join. Do you want me to send you the link? Marta. I reached out, I engaged. And she said, yes, please. So I copied and pasted the link in, linked in to the direct message and invited her to the group. And you know what? Some people responded and said, oh, I responded no because I actually don't use Facebook. But we had a few new members join because of that, just simply because of a poll, yes or no. So engagement is always not one-sided. It's not that they're engaging and commenting. It's like thinking of ways that you can strategically reach out and start the conversation with them as well. So this is just one example. Be creative. It might not take off immediately. You might start stories and you might not have any views, but try a little bit every day, be consistent, and just see how you can grow that engagement and that following. Andrea says, do you do all of this responding on your phone, or can you do it at a desktop? I do it all from my phone. On Instagram, on Facebook, I do it from the desktop for sure. And I didn't even really get into Facebook direct messages, but that's a whole other thing. We get so many messages on Facebook on the main extension account, people asking questions, and it can be overwhelming, but people aren't, I mean, they still do come into the county offices and ask questions, but more and more they're reaching out to pages and businesses through social media. And it's our job to meet that challenge and respond to them. So that's all I had for you today. I wanted to take this time now to just answer questions. So you can type them in the Q&A. If you have specific questions about your social media or more general questions, I would love to answer questions. We can strategize real quick. If you all start signing off, I'll know that you had no questions. And that's okay. All right, type in the chat, yes or no. How many of you feel like you're gonna try maybe Instagram stories now? Oh, Andrew said, oh, no, that's the same question. Oh, Facebook Live, I missed that part of your question. Facebook Live that we've done other trainings on. I'm trying to think. I know I've done some professional development trainings. I don't know if we've done a webinar on Facebook Live. I would be happy to do that. Or Andrea, if you just have questions, send me an email or give me a call. I would be happy to talk to you about Facebook Live anytime. It's really not as bad as a lot of people think it is. And usually when I have people come do it with me, they're super nervous or apprehensive or they don't want to do it. And they come and afterward they're like, oh, that was not a big deal. And it's fine. So I'd love to tell you more about that. Christy's going to try Facebook story or Instagram stories. Woohoo! Oh, the other thing I forgot to mention, you can set up your Instagram stories to share automatically to Facebook stories, which I don't see as much engagement or interaction or views on Facebook stories, but you might as well do it. You're already putting the work in and you can click a button and it goes both places. I would say it's worth it. All right. What do you guys think about Instagram TV? Does it sound like something you'd be willing to try? Dallin said no. Andrew said yes. Okay. Check out the Botanical Center, the videos that I did with Sheridan. It might help you get over some anxieties about it. It's really pretty basic. Like a year ago when it was pretty new, I saw an Instagram TV from another state's extension, and it was it was their 4-H showing how to get was that a chicken ready to go to the fair, like bathing the chicken. You never know what's going to do well on Instagram TV, what people will find interesting and what your audience will want to know. Dallin, I hope I can change your mind. Call me if you have questions. Yeah, definitely check out what we've been doing, or just open Instagram TV on your own Instagram not profile account and see what other people are putting out there. It's definitely kind of interesting. All right, any other questions? Talon says no Instagram yet, long shot. Okay, well, I hope that you'll maybe be motivated to give it a try. I think that's where our audience is, and it's worth talking to those people. There are many businesses that I follow on Instagram and I don't follow necessarily on Facebook, because I see Facebook more as like people I know. I just use Facebook differently than I do Instagram. So, all right, I think we've killed time long enough. If you do have more questions, I would love to talk with you. Again, check out that link that Aubrey shared in the chat box. Scroll up, copy and paste that, and watch that. It's not super long. I'll open it up and see how long it is. The video is 23 minutes long. And it'll be a little bit repetitive of what I've told you here, because she talks about stories. She talks about Instagram TV, but she's like an infomercial lady. She's smart. She knows her stuff. And it might inspire you a little bit more to do a little bit more on Instagram to get more engagement. All right, well, I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you guys for your comments and your questions. I appreciate it. I hope that this was helpful, and I hope that you can get some more meaningful engagement and interactions on social media. Call me anytime, email me anytime. I would love to talk with you and help you strategize for your social media and get some ideas. That's what I love to do. I'm a marketing assistant. That's all I do. So I would love to chat with you some more, and I hope that this was helpful. We are going to save the recording. So if you need to go back and watch anything, that is an option. Thank you guys so much, and I hope you have a wonderful Thursday. We'll see you at next week's webinar.